All right, Business and Buckets fans, I am live from Montana again, this time with another close relationship that I have, Mr. Shadow, Foreshadow, if you want to give him the rapper name.
Yes, sir.
Is that technically your rapper name? I know, like, you know, Alaire and you are Foreshadow too type of thing.
Yeah.
Is it just Foreshadow and Alaire, you're Foreshadow? What's the
So yeah, Foreshadow is just me. Foreshadow X Alaire is both of us together. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, first off, we'll do a little introduction of how I know this guy, and then I'll get into our guys at Field Supplements. But yeah, I mean, we both grew up on the reservation here in Montana, crossed paths through high school, probably were more of acquaintances than anything, but then come into college, obviously, all of us res kids kind of packed together, it seems like. So, cross paths, you know, had some good times, as is what college is. It's more good times than anything. I feel like I paid for good times more than I did a piece of paper. But hey, I majored in journalism. It's got me here, so maybe it did do something.
That's right.
But before we jump in and go through Shadow's history and his path to becoming, you know, rapper, entrepreneur, busy businessman, father, family figure, we're going to dive into Field Supplements. Because if it's not broken, why fix it? That's the inspiration behind Field Supplements' newest product, creatine monohydrate. So why take creatine? Well, creatine monohydrate is one of the most well-researched and effective natural substances available for increasing muscle performance. Creatine enhances performance by supplying a pool of ATP, which acts as muscle tissue's primary energy source for fuel during explosive bursts of energy, power, and strength. It's 100 servings, non-GMO, gluten-free, obviously safe and effective. But you guys know the deal. Use my promotion code BUCKETS at Field Supplements for 15% off everything but whey protein. Once again, promotion code BUCKETS. Always, you know, tagging them on my social medias, putting them on the YouTube. If you're buying supplements, check them out. People helping people. It's all about the small business. You know, screw the GNCs and the other places of the world. They got enough people going there, and it's all overhyped and overpriced anyways. How about yourself? I don't know. Are you a supplement guy? Have you ever supplemented before?
No.
Do you ever do anything to keep you fresh while you're rapping and running the studio and everything?
No, man, not really. I use like Bang energy drinks, you know, or Rain, anything like that. So.
Well, we got to get this guy on some supplements. Got to straighten him up a little bit, get him fresh, get his mind right. But yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on. Thanks for having me on. We're in your new studio, New Wave, right?
Yep, New Wave studio. Yes, sir.
So we'll just kind of, you know, I like to chronologically go through your past history to what's got you here, but this is an exciting thing. I mean, how do you feel that you got this going up and running? I know the local news station was here recently. It's got to be some sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things. It's an accomplishment, but you don't realize that it's an accomplishment because you've been working at it so long that you just think, well, it's about time I did this. So, yeah, it's been great, man. It's super exciting to have it up and running and have clients in and have people in here doing their thing. It's been awesome, man.
Plus, it goes by so fast. You kind of get caught up in the grinds. You know, exercise I have sometimes. And I think probably COVID opened my eyes a lot of just how grateful I was because people went through some real shit.
Right.
And, you know, me, I didn't lose my job. I still had a place to live. Like,
absolutely.
You know, just the key pieces. But having that reflection of sitting back, looking at, like, holy shit, dude, I've come this far. Right. And that's why it's fun getting guys like yourself. And I did Dakota, my best friend, the other day. Like, you know, we grew up from places that I live in Seattle now. They can't relate to that. You know, right. It's some real rags to riches stuff. So it's great seeing people doing something and pursuing their dreams because not everybody has that opportunity.
For sure, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on, dude. It's an honor.
Yeah, man. Once you're, you know, keep blowing up and the studio rocking and the rapping, we'll have to have you on again and we can have a fun check base. Yeah.
For sure, man.
But we'll start. So I don't really know the full story. The funny thing is like I've known you for years. Dakota's my best friend, and I've known him for years. But doing these interviews, I learned so much from you guys because you don't really have a table conversation like getting into the deep shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe some people do. That's not usually my forte, but it's fun to hear this. So, were you born and raised in Dixon, or where were you born and raised?
Born in Missoula, raised in Dixon and Arley, and went to high school in Charlotte. So. Kind of all over the south end of the.
Did you go to elementary school and junior high in Dixon?
Yeah, yep. So all the way K through 8th in Dixon, and Charlotte after that. So.
All res schools.
All res schools, man. Yeah.
I always like to bring this up because from us living here, and I wasn't born and raised in the res. I grew up in Wyoming, oil field area, kind of a good amount of money there, like Jackson Hole, big touristy place. And coming here was definitely this is a different kind of place out here.
Yeah. So
from you, that's pretty much lived on the res your whole life. How would you explain a reservation? What is it like, and what kind of culture is followed there?
So I'd explain it as, I've been a lot of places now that I'm older. I've been all the way across the world. I've been in Thailand, and just seeing different cultures and comparing it to, where I was born and raised. There's lots of similarities. There's lots of differences. So, like explaining somebody like what a reservation is, I always like to, it's a beautiful place, but there's lots of past history that's not so good. But, Native people, very resilient people, lived through a lot of stuff, came out on top, still doing it. And so in some ways, it's kind of like any spot that, like, where you would go that has minority culture, So when I tell people about the reservation, I'm like, yeah, it's a great place, but there's lots of pain and there's lots of struggle, and it looks great from the outside, but it's not all that when you get deep down into it.
I have mixed feelings when I come back. My best friend Dakota lives in Ronan, which is on the reservation, and he has a house that's literally got the mountains right in the backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I come back, like Seattle has mountains, there's good mountains over there. I grew up here, but I forget how just epic they are and how like they just make you feel. And I just wake up there every day with a cup of coffee. I'm like, man, you fucking live here still. Like, this is awesome and so cool. And then the next day I go to the gas station, you see people, and you see like the things, the pain and the suffering that happens out here. And I always tell my managers at work, if you want to get me motivated, send me back home for a week, and I'll just be all gas, no brakes, because you see the things that other people go through, and it's like, that's why I moved out to Seattle. That's why I'm grinding, doing my thing, and it just makes me so hungry just to keep pushing forward. Right. Because, we're still young, but, there's some times where you work so hard, you can kind of get caught in the trap of, like, I'm working hard, I'm doing it, and you can just be complacent. So it's definitely mixed feelings coming back every time, because there is so much beauty, and there's just so much, in between the cracks, struggling, and the things that we see on a day-to-day basis.
For sure, man.
So let's talk about Dixon. So for people that don't know, if you Google Dixon, it doesn't look like a town. You'll probably see, 5 buildings on the Google map. So when you were growing up there, what's the population like? What's it like going to the schools there? How many kids were in your school? Because I don't even know. I've never even stepped foot in Dixon schools.
So my class, I think there was 8 of us in the class.
That's crazy.
The entire school had 64 kids. And so super, super small town. It's one of the towns, you can drive through, and if you blink, you miss the town. It's very small. Had one bar, one store, and a school, basically.
And the post office.
And the post office.
I think that's what classifies a town. Because when I grew up in Wyoming, there's some towns like that. Post office, bar, maybe a little mart or shopping for some supplies, and the school.
Yep. So, I think the population, somewhere around 350 to 500 people.
That's probably a pretty broad area, right? It's not just there's no downtown.
No. And it's the surrounding area too. So, super, super small town. So, growing up there was different, man. I mean, I didn't know anything else, but I knew it was small. So, that's that, man.
When you put yourself back in the mindset, I always try to think back of when I was in school, and as a kid, you're just literally blind to what's going on. You're just there, and that's all you know.
Right.
You're happy with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back at it, what do you feel like you gained from living in a town like that? Did you have to be like a dog-eat-dog to try to figure things out because there is nobody there? Did you feel like there was just a huge sense of community because it is so small? Everyone's just they're helping each other out. What was it like growing up there as a young kid?
Dixon was pretty cool, man. The community back when I was growing up, it was just the community was, they had melon days,
that's what I was.
It always was popping back then, but now it's petered out a little bit. And lots of drugs and stuff there. It's a very dark place now, but when I was a kid, it was great, And so when I was younger, like you said, I have no idea of what it should be like, or what I was missing out on. But after I'm a millennial, so we got a computer at some age, and once you had the internet, it's like,
whoa.
Yeah, you don't have to guess about anything anymore. You just can learn everything. It's it's right at your fingertips. So, that was an advantage that I had growing up, and I was raised by my grandma, so I lived with her, and I think there's some benefits to going to like a small school. It's a lot more one-on-one with the teachers, and there's good relationships there, and they really help kids because not everyone from around there has the best home life, and so school is like a sanctuary for some of us.
An escape.
Yeah, they get to get out from their house because that place sucks. They get to go to school. They get to eat free food, and so I always thought that was pretty cool,
Now, when we look at the town being so small, I don't even think I ever even thought of this. Did you guys have sports? Did you have like team? Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Well, we had track, and then if we did any sports, like organized sports, we go to Charlotte.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how they integrated Dixon to Charlotte.
Because I was just thinking, I was like, wait, they never had like a football team or anything.
No.
Because St. Regis is pretty small.
Yeah.
And they have teams.
Right.
But I think it's because they don't have another town next to them.
Yeah, exactly. So they did have like football and basketball back before I went to school there. Like when my mom went to school there. They had actual teams, football teams, basketball teams. But it was a little bit bigger of a school then, but it got smaller and smaller. Still pretty small, so.
So I know I've met your sister, but do you have more than one sibling or just one?
Nope, just one.
And she's how much younger than you?
2 years.
2 years. So how was that growing up with your sister? Did you guys have a very close bond and feel like you grew up together? Were you guys kind of completely opposites and it was what it was, or?
Yeah, we're super close, man. We had a really good relationship. I mean, you know how it is with siblings, just brother, sister. It's just not, you don't like each other when you're younger, but as we got older, and get mature, and like we really support each other, and so we're each other's like super big support system. My mom and dad weren't around all the time, so I had my grandma, but then my sister, we became super close because of that, and so it's always a good relationship now. It was brother sister shit back then, but it's good now, man.
So my grandma was definitely involved in my childhood as well. What was that like? Did you have your parents with you all through as a childhood? Were you mostly with grandma? What was that like?
So yeah, my mom and dad, I think they split when I was like 4, I think 3 or 4, and so after that I lived with my mom, but then she got into like abusive relationship, and so my grandma was just basically like, hey, like come live with me. Like, you don't need to be going through that. You and your sister don't need to be doing that. So they were around, in and out, addiction, all that stuff, man. And so they were around, but they weren't present in our lives. So, yeah, my grandma was huge. Very, very awesome person. And, my grandpa was there, too. He passed away when I was a 7th grader, I think. But, yeah, they loved us, supported us, gave us everything we needed to.
As a child, for me, I went through some of that too. But did you feel like you had the awareness of what was going on, or it was just like, hey, I'm in Dixon, got my grandma?
Yeah, I was aware. Yeah, I was old enough, when my mom was getting into drugs and, had a very abusive boyfriend. Like, that definitely was some traumatic experiences to live through. So, yeah, I was definitely aware. My sister aware too, so, yeah.
Do you feel like that traumatized you as a kid and put you through some things, or did you just feel like you just kept moving on and just knew what you did?
Yeah, definitely went through it, It probably still affects me to this day because it's just, it's traumatic. So, but, I know how to cope with it now, and I know, my mom's doing good now, and I'm proud of her now. But, it's something you just got to live through, and it makes you a stronger person in the end.
And obviously your father, now we'll get into fatherhood later, but do you feel like that's helped you as a father, seeing that, like, want to be there and be more present and be super involved?
For sure, man. Yeah. Break the cycle.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you said you went to high school. Where did you start your freshman year of high school?
Where?
Yeah.
Charlotte.
And
yep.
Did you graduate from Charlotte?
Yep.
So, did you still live in Dixon, though?
Yeah.
With grandma?
Yep.
How was it going to school in Charlotte, even though you lived in Dixon? here in Montana, you get these small towns. They always collaborate to have enough kids to play sports, those types of things.
Yeah.
But was there ever like an outcast piece going there because you're not technically from Charlotte? Were you welcomed with open arms?
Yeah, kind of. Like doing like 7th and 8th, 6th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th grade sports. It was you kind of did feel like an outcast. You go there and they're like Dixon kids, So yeah, for sure. But once I got into high school, it was it's pretty welcoming.
When you look back at your high school years, what were some things that you took away, living in a small town on the reservation? Would you ever change it, do you feel like? Do you feel like that, those were the years where you really had to mature to be prepared for what the next steps in life were? Because a lot of people, don't really go to college out here. I would say, but, the numbers probably aren't very, and if they do, it doesn't last very long, right? So, for you, did you feel like, you had a lot of maturity years there and you had to start putting your mindset on like what's next? Or
yeah, for sure, man. Obviously the push is for an institution is obviously get people prepared to go to college, and looking back on that, I wish I wouldn't have just went to college because I wasn't ready for it. And so the years at Shiloh, they prepared me, but I just wasn't ready to go to school. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but being a Native American, the rates are very low for people who go to college and actually finish college. So I know, I had a lot of pressure from my grandma and stuff to, like, you need to go to school, you need to get your degree, blah, blah, blah. And so the experience at Shiloh was it's a reservation school, but there's not very many natives there. And, not very much color like Arlie or Ronan or even Polson. It's just there's a lot of farmers, ranchers, in very, very small amount of natives. So I always, I didn't really accept my background, my culture. It kind of felt like an outcast just for being native. And so that kind of was, it was different, but I adapted to it. And I really took away, that's where I really became interested in writing, and had a really great English teacher. She's super awesome. She, would let me write poems all the time and stuff. And that's where I really started actually writing, making rap music too. So that definitely prepared me for the steps I would take later. So yeah.
I was talking to Dakota about the whole college thing. I feel like we're maybe not the last, probably the next 4-year group was still very pressured for college, but now even big tech jobs in Seattle don't require degrees, and
right.
People are realizing man, that's a big investment when you can do your own podcast, you go online and be an influencer, you could do the world's your oyster really. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of weird how we get put in that mindset. But in high school, did you always know hey, I have to go to college because that's the system? Yeah. Did you think you were going to be a rapper in college? Did you have an idea of a career path you had, or what was that like?
I went to college for business, and that was cool. I learned a lot of stuff.
University of Montana, right?
No, I went to Dillon first, so Western, and then I came to UM. So, but yeah, I went into business and did that. Whatever. I could have just stayed in Dillon and got my degree, but I didn't. So. I really did become involved in music. I started producing music. I started, rapping just in my bedroom. And after I started doing that, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to school no more. But I kept trying it out, and then finally I was like, nah, I'm going to just do music.
But in high school, you just didn't really know. You just figured school was the next
step. Yeah. I knew I was interested in music, obviously, but I was like, that's not feasible. So, yeah. I just went to school because that's the thing to do.
I don't think there was... Yeah, I don't think there was any type of rappers or musicians or anything in the schools we had when we were growing up. Were you ever involved with... I know you guys started Codependence later on. There was other people in our schools, but that was never even a concept of that could be a career, or hey, there's people doing that there. Is that...
Yeah, no, it was my buddy Roman and his brother Chance, and then our friend Ryan Lane. We started rapping together, so we would just write music and do it on after school. We were stealing microphones from the lab and bringing them home, and then got pirated programs and just try to do our own thing, and like we all were super interested in it. So that was like the crew that I had that I knew that was into the same stuff as me. So,
but there was nobody else really around doing it.
Yeah. And I've talked about that before. Like I had nobody to like really look up to and be like, hey, how do I do this? Like how can I get into doing what you're doing? Now. Got me.
Business of buckets, bro.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Yes, it got me. Now people can reach out and be like, "Hey, man, I'm really interested in doing this. I can help them out." So
that's what it's all about, man. People helping people.
That's right, man.
Now, when we look at college, you started, writing. You started getting into music. When did it just click? Did you have an aha moment? Did you have people that's like, "Hey, actually, dude, like some of the stuff you're writing is really good." Like, how did this concept even become a reality?
It's probably like the day I decided I'm gonna drop out of school.
Was that
I played my first couple shows, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make money, how am I gonna pay rent, blah 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 blah, And so all those thoughts going through my head, but also like, I don't want to go to school.
And this was in Missoula, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So when you started making music, you said you took the mics from the lab, you were trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You said you had a little bit of a group with you. Did you guys all just like, hey, let's, keep doing this thing, we're having a good time? And then you were like, hey, I want to, rap on myself. Like, what was the first, like, steps getting into rapping?
So I guess I have to say, once I went to college at Dillon, I bought a computer and I bought, like, an interface to record through. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just buying stuff that I'm like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. And so I bought turntables, and then I realized I don't need turntables to rap. So, I sold those. And then after, I couldn't stay away from home, so I was always coming back. And my cousin Buck, he's a musician too, and he was like, hey man, I bought all these like this equipment to supposedly we can record music. He's like, I just don't know how to do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we started going out to his jam spot, and like, I figured it out. And so we just started making music out there, and it was like a step up from, the lab microphone and whatever. And I was producing beats, and, we're staying out there. When you first get into something and you just love it, we're out there till 4 or 5 a.m. just like making songs, and like don't have nobody to show them to because we didn't want to show them to people yet, but we'd jam them. And so that's when we really started, like, and that was me and Roman and his brother Chance, and then my cousin Buck. And so that was like the first initiative to like, oh, okay, we could do this, and we're kind of good at it, and I know that because we're on beat. So it just evolved from that and just kept going and kept escalating. And it's just, I knew, like, then I was like, okay, I can rap, I can do this, I sound just as good as other people. So
how'd you learn the specifics? Because there's a lot involved in rapping, right? Kind of like a podcasting. You look at it, it's like, oh, this guy is just like flowing, it's that easy. Right. They don't think about the beats, they don't think about the production, they don't think about like the right 808s, like the right structure of a song. Did you even know these things, or did you kind of just like hodgepodge try to figure it out?
I knew about music and like timing, and just from going to school and like playing instruments when I was younger, or going to choir. I just
what
knew.
What instrument you play?
Well, when I was younger, we just played like a recorder, like a flute. And so, like, and that's all I ever did. I got good at that, but then in college, I took like piano class, so I learned how to play the keys and stuff. But so I kind of had knowledge of like basic knowledge of music, and so it was never like I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I kind of had an idea, and I was super into computers, so I could run a computer and figure out programs, and that's what it was really about. It was me researching what program to get, trying to get that program, and then trying to learn it. And that was like 6 years of straight up, okay, let's try this again. Yeah, let's try this again. Oh, how do I make it sound better? How do I make it sound better? Oh, now I'm learning how to mix. Now I'm learning how to, bounce stuff out and put different effects on,
What was the first program?
We used Fruity Loops, I think, right out the gate. Actually, no, it was Sony Acid, Acid Pro. use that first, but that I didn't like that program, so I was like, I'm gonna get Fruity Loops. So I just pirated everything until like 2 years ago. So like made it official because it's tax write off now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Can buy buy the programs and then get some money off of taxes. So yeah, everything that I have now is all legit.
Now, as we get through the music scene, you're working with your cousin, you're working with the buddies. Did they want to, were they just kind of involved in the idea? Did they want to be rappers and sound producers as well? What was that like?
Basically rappers, because I could do all of the other stuff. So they're like, yeah, we'll just write. And so we got super involved in that. And then we all moved to Missoula. That's when I came to U of M. Roman and Chance, they both moved in here. And that's when I started to meet like Keenan and Justin.
You didn't know them through school at all?
No,
that's
I
wild.
knew Justin just like from branding out at the Stipes. Like that was it.
Wild.
But so yeah, we moved to town. Roman actually went to the service, and so he was gone for a long time. I didn't have my fucking right hand man for rapping, and so I went to, I think it was Plains Fair, and Keenan was there. And so we hanging out around the fire. He starts freestyling, and then we just we're like, hey, yeah, dude, we should try to make a song, whatever. And then Justin came out to my grandma's house. I had the studio in the basement at that point. That was 2012, when Roman went to the service, and I started hanging out with those guys. I produced a beat that night, made a song. Next day, we're like, we should have a group. So that's how Codependence was formed. Keenan had the name for it, and after that we brought everything to Missoula. Everyone moved here, and we started to get into the scene, and people who, everyone just thought we were these young kids who were talented, and so they're like, oh my god, you guys got to play these shows. They're just putting us on, man, and I really appreciate that, because that was huge. And we don't even play shows with those guys anymore, but yeah, man, that's really how it got moving. And we got to Missoula, and then it was had the studio everywhere I moved. So everywhere I was at, a studio was there. We lived right over here on Bow Street. Had the studio in the basement, and
I remember that place.
We just wake up, go into the studio, make music all day long. It was awesome, man.
Were you a solo rapper before that then?
No, man, I never did. I mean, I did do some songs by myself, but I never considered myself a solo artist, because I always was with other people.
Did you have a first song that you still have?
Yeah. Actually wrote it about my mom and dad, and it was just a release of emotion, basically. That's how I vented a lot, was writing and rapping. And I think my dad actually went to prison on DUI or something, and it just hit me, and so all this emotion came out, and I just I think it was called 180 or something, and I don't have the song anymore, but
Dang.
My mom loves it. She had it. It's lost forever now. I know somebody's got it, but that was the first song I ever did by myself, and made the beat and everything, and all my family I showed it to, they're like, this is so amazing. I'm and then a couple of years later I was like, this shit's corny, bro. But I mean, it's really good, a young version of me just putting my emotions out there. So it was very pure, and I think back on it, I'm like, yeah, it's cool.
No, it's cool, because a lot of rappers that start, they have the raw shit, and that's what gets them going, because people are like, damn, and then people expect that rapper to be like that the whole time.
Right, yeah.
They go through different, they go through success,
Yep.
They have to start changing their mindset, their
miss
emotions
the old
are
Kanye.
different.
That's
yeah, exactly, the old Eminem,
miss the old J. Cole.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one ever says that to me, so I'm glad.
But yeah, let's talk Codependence. So that's when I really started, kicking it with you guys. My roommates were close to you. Bryce is related to you, right?
Yeah.
You guys started doing some shows. So, you guys started this idea. He brought up the name. Were you guys all writing and rapping, or were you mostly the producer writer?
I produced. We all wrote and rapped. Nobody wrote for anybody else, which I thought was cool. You know, a lot of people have ghostwriters these days, or just people who write music for them. But there's no shame in that, because like if you're a good rap artist and you just can't write, you pay someone to write for you, you still sound good when you rap, you know. But I always like to write for myself because it pertains to me and like my life.
Yep.
And I like to put, the everything I say is real. So I always tell people that, don't rap about stuff that you actually don't live, because then someone's gonna confront you and you have to be like, "Nah, I was just saying that."
Yeah.
It's like, nah, it's not cool, bro. No one wants someone faking it.
Yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, so we'd all write, and I would produce, and I would mix and master, record us. And so we started doing that, playing shows, and then Roman came back from his deployment, and he just hopped right in, and like he was another member of Codependence. And so we were playing shows with Roman, just basically just partying, like the college fucking lifestyle in your 20s. We'd go to shows, we just get wasted and go to festivals, get wasted, and just have fun, play shows. It was always great, but we never got paid. And it's like, what was I thinking? Well, I was just having fun, man. That's all it really was.
You
back
never
then.
got paid for shows.
I mean, we got paid here and there. We threw like one of the craziest shows when we released an album at the Palace. Like, it was jam packed, and like that was we were about to get kicked out of our house down here, and we threw this release show, and we're like, okay, we need to make like $1,500 to cover rent, and we did. We smashed it. We made like $1,900, and we were like, oh, so we can make money doing this, We have fans at that point. There's a fan base. And so that's when things started clicking in my head. I'm like, okay, we got to start making money, or else this is not a feasible thing, because real life starts to hit. It's like, got rent, got bills, got whatever,
So we'll talk about your first show, and your best show is Codependence. But first, the big thing for me and what I see as an observer leaving the reservation, coming back, is you have to take that leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
You dropped out of school. You didn't know how to figure it out, but
That's
you
a
were
leap
committed.
Right.
And you were willing to put the work in. You worked, and you were in the studio. Whether you guys partied or not, I'm sure you worked just as hard as you partied, right?
Yeah.
Work hard, play hard.
Absolutely, man.
But how did you have the confidence in doing that? What do you think gave you the faith to do it? And looking back, like, how cool of a moment was that?
It's amazing. I mean, like, in me as a person, I've always been a very big dreamer. I always dream about doing the craziest shit, and I'm just like, I could probably do that if I really work at it. But then, I'd get inspired from other artists and like people who are coming up, and they're like, just work hard, just be dedicated, disciplined. Like, you have to work hard, or else it's not gonna work out for you. You can have these dreams, but you have to, without action, it's just a dream.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always have that in the back of my mind. Even back then, I was like, man, I want to play the Wilma, but I have to work at that. I have to get better and better, And now I play the Wilma 15 times, like.
The Wilma is one of the coolest downtown venues in Missoula for
Yeah.
people that don't know.
Yeah, the Wilma Theater. But yeah, so going from, playing just the dive bars to playing 5 people to playing like a show with MGK, and there's like 700 people there. Like, I've always, once those times come, you're like, wow, I'm manifesting things into reality. Like, here I am playing shows with hundreds of people. Never thought I'd really do that, but I always knew I could, And so, I just think that looking back on just the whole mindset that I had, it's never changed. I've always been the go-getter. So
were you ever scared of taking that faith? Did you ever have people doubting you, or were you just like, fuck it, I'm doing it?
Definitely there's doubters, man, all the time, or just like, even just my grandma, someone who's real with you, like, that's not gonna work out, but supports me, but like, hey, it's real life, you gotta do something that, you're gonna get money, you're gonna have to pay bills, whatever, but still supports me huge. But that also kicks in the gear, like, hey, I gotta start putting my action into it, And so the leap of faith was probably quitting school and just being like, all right, how can I make this work out? So playing shows, doing tours, just building a fan base is what I've been doing for 10 years now. So.
Do you feel like when you did take that leap of faith, though, you did have doubt ever? Or were you just, like, so busy and, like, trying to succeed?
Like, nah. I never doubted myself. I never had no doubt. It was always... Music is, like, what I am super passionate about. And no matter what, at the end of the day, I'm just going to do music because I like to do it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's not going to kill me. I can do other things, too. So,
right mentality.
Yeah, man. That's right.
Now, when we're talking about codependence and you're actually doing shows, what was your first show? Do you remember?
Yeah, we played at the Badlander with Dessa from Doomtree.
And how many people do you think were in the crowd?
Probably 50 to 70. Fairly big show. Super nervous.
Did you get paid for it?
Yeah, I think we did get paid like $100 or something. Yeah.
Did you have a good time though, or did you feel like
it was great, man?
Like,
my mom was there, my sister was there. It was awesome. And then that's when I became like addicted to playing shows. I'm like, oh, this is a natural high. Love it.
And were you able to keep putting shows out? Did you guys have an album yet, or were you just kind of like
no album yet? We were able to keep playing shows though. We just kept getting shows. Like, you know, we started to make a connection with like all the Minnesota artists, the underground artists that we used to play shows with all the time, and actually Sadistic from out in Seattle. But yeah, so it was like we just played shows basically for free, but we lived in town. We're like, whatever, we're going out, we'll get free bar chips and fucking drink beer. So that was always the incentive. We'll go down and we'll just, you know, have some drinks and play a show.
Did you have to work a job or?
No. I started when I actually got good at mixing and mastering music. I started charging people to come to the studio and be like, hey, do you want to make a project? $1,000 and I'll make this many songs for you, and I'll mix and master them. I'll put them on the internet, put them on Spotify and Apple Music, whatever, all the outlets, because I had those smarts already. So
that's right. Now, as we started getting things up, how long until you guys were doing shows until you put out an album?
So I think we put out Codependence Day the same year we started doing shows. So like the end of that year, I believe. I can't remember, like 100%. I believe the flyer's in there actually. But yeah, so same year we did our first show. I think we put out the album later that year.
Did you feel a sense of accomplishment and success after putting it out? And today, do you feel differently than that?
Yeah, it was a huge accomplishment. I was like, I can't believe we did that, you know, like that's just an accomplishment too. I always tell people it's hard to succeed in doing something when you don't have somebody that tells you, we got a deadline, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. Someone to drive you. It's all self-driven. And so once we had the album, we had it in our hands, we're like, this is crazy. We did this. Nobody told us to do it, but we did it. So
do you ever listen back to it?
Oh yeah, dude. It's still like one of our most listened to like projects.
What year was this?
I think it's 2012.
So at this time, what kind of platforms was music available on? Because there's
Apple Music.
There was at
the
time?
Yeah, it was iTunes. It wasn't Apple Music,
yeah.
But it was iTunes, Amazon. It's basically just that, I believe, you know. But I put it on. I think it went on YouTube back then too, as well. So.
Were you able to get paid from that, or do you ever get paid from that, or was it just like?
Yeah, still get paid from it to this day.
Because if you put music on that platform. Because at the time, what the hell was going on with iTunes at the time? Because there was still CDs, right?
Yeah.
So you could buy CDs, so if an artist had a CD bought, you get money. But if you put it on iTunes, do you get paid per stream, or how does that work?
Yep, paid per stream. But back then it was like you had to buy the songs.
Okay.
So
99 cents a song.
99 cents, yeah. Now it's per stream, so.
What's the royalty per stream today?
Fraction of a penny.
I figure.
Yeah.
So you have to be having like tens of thousands of streams to make any kind of income.
Yes, sir.
And does that just come to your address that you have on file, or how does that work?
So like once you make your online account to wherever you upload your music, they just keep your your sales and accounting report there, and you can go look at it at all times. So that's how I know how much money I made off that album, and still blows my mind to this day. I was like, I never thought I would make this much money out of that. It's nuts, man. Still crazy. There's a song we have on YouTube. And just recently, a couple years ago, started working for this landscaping company in town, and this kid was like, I kind of made a relationship with him, and he was like, so what do you do? And I was like, well, I do like hip hop music. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, what do you call yourself? Like, oh, I do like stuff with, I have a group called Codependence, and then me and Alaire just got together at the time. And he's like, Codependence? He's like, I heard some of your music. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, you guys have this song on YouTube. It's got like 60,000 views. And I'm like, shut up, dude. He's like, seriously, dude, go look. And I go look, and it's the song Hurt. Yeah. It's me and Justin. And apparently, so when the Logan trailer dropped, it had Johnny Cash's version of Hurt on the trailer.
So everyone's searching that again.
Yeah, yeah. And for some reason, like, somebody put in the comments, here's the song, and it directed them all to our song, dude. And so people were like, oh, I like this song way better than the original version. It's like, that's not even the original version. It was a Nine Inch Nails song, actually. So, yeah, super funny. I was just like, that blows my mind, man.
That was my first song that I heard from you guys. I was like, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, dude. No, cool, I still love that song to this day. It's a great song.
Were you able to get money from YouTube from that then?
Oh yeah, yeah. They didn't flag the sample for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I'm not complaining at all.
Yeah. Got quite a few,
that's awesome.
$100 from that. So.
And then now we're talking, you guys were together for a while. Did you guys have 2 albums or 1?
2.
2.
We shot an EP too, so 2 albums and an EP.
And were you guys just like, hey, let's just keep doing this? Obviously you guys did some shows. I believe you guys were actually on a couple tours too, right?
Yeah, we did. I think we did like 4 or 5 tours.
How broad of an area did you get to travel
we covered like all Pacific Northwest. We did that a couple of times. And then we went all the way to Southern Cali, into Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois. We kind of went like Midwest, and that was like the furthest we went, and still haven't got to do like last year. Me and Alaire had a tour booked for the Southwest. Got canceled because of COVID. And we had another one for the Southeast, which I've never been like out there at all, and that got canceled too. So hopefully that comes back around, man. It was really exciting to know that we were doing that, but then it got shut down. So
the tours that you guys did, was that a lot of your first time being in those places?
Oh, yeah, man, and a lot of like rugged memories of like sleeping in cars and on floors and just like roughing it, man. Gas station food and fucking concrete floors with sleeping bags. And
did you have to drive yourselves and everything?
Oh yep, we drove ourselves, man.
So when you get signed up for a tour, do you get paid like an overhead, like, hey, you'll get this
so
much money,
we met like a couple dudes from the Midwest. I don't remember if it was just online or what, but we connected with them, and this dude just had like the knowledge of booking tours. And so he's like, all right, here's how we do it. We make a package deal, and we tell the bar, we want a guarantee of this and like part of the door, and they're like, if they agree, then we got that date booked, So they kind of put us on to that, and they went on the first tour with us, and so that was super helpful because we had no idea like how to start. Was it very
profitable though?
No,
it was just more spreading the word.
Yeah. Like I said, we were just building a fan base that whole time. And we all knew that. We're like, oh, if we come out with like a couple bucks to like get a hotel room or get some food, cool. We're driving around doing what we love and just traveling. So it was like we didn't have any other obligations. So we're on the road, rapping to people, making fans, kind of making a couple bucks here and there. So in our minds, it's like, this is fucking awesome, man.
So we'll talk about some of the emotions because there's got to be lots of ebbs and flows of just like new people, like, oh shit, they're vibing, we're vibing, this is a cool place. But when you're going through that process, did you guys like, hey, let's like really lock this in, we're going to be codependents forever? Or was it just like we're living life day by day?
Yeah, it was definitely, we were like, let's just do this until we're not doing it. So like we were always committed to like keeping up with it, but then life happens. Like we didn't live in the same place anymore, so we like started to go different ways. People just Justin had kids. I moved back to my grandma's house and like wasn't living in town. Keenan stayed here, so we just kind of grew apart, and wasn't ever anything like salty. We were like, all right, we're done. It was just like, oh man, we'll try, but it just didn't work out.
Yep. That's how it works.
Yeah, man.
What was the coolest place you went to on tour with Codependence? Where you were like, damn, this is fucking crazy. Like, I never even knew people would want to listen to this shit already.
Where did we played a really cool show? I can't. One was out in Chicago, downtown Chicago. It was a really dope show. Probably one of my favorites personally on tour. There's it's a dive bar, so 30 people make it look packed. And you're like, this is awesome. Used to playing like 5, and they're all sitting at the bar. They don't even care what we're doing. So yeah, that show was very memorable night, man. And then Justin actually knocked the dude out that night in the bar, and that was very memorable. And then we went outside, and there was like this band that had just got done playing this other show, and they seen us coming out, and like they were just playing music, like walking down the street, and we like linked up and just started rapping, and like they were playing the beats and we were rapping, and Roman, he got it all on his GoPro. It was super dope, man. Like very, very cool time.
What was the worst show?
Oh man, there was a one we played in Hood River, and there was like one person there. I mean, we still played, but it was like there was nobody there, so. That's probably the worst show ever.
And on those tours, did you have a bunch of artists? Were you opening for people? Was it just you guys?
Yeah, so we had a bunch of artists that, like I said, we linked up from the Midwest that came out, and like they're helping with the booking and stuff. So there was always like five or six of us on the bill.
Is there anyone that's noteworthy today?
Oh yeah, man, made like lifelong relationships with all those dudes. Some of us still, some of them still working at it, but like adulthood, things change, time moves on, and you don't always have time for that. And so, yeah, I still have really good relationships with all those guys.
That's awesome. So obviously you moved back to your grandma's. Were you still doing things solo? How long was it, between Codependence and you and Alaire hooking up to still do your thing today?
So I moved home, my house burnt down, and then it was like, I didn't do music for a while because of that. It was just like...
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't have any equipment because I was all lost. And so, but a blessing in disguise, we had full insurance. We had 100% loss of everything. So they reimbursed me for everything I had, like plus some, because I had all these
that
programs.
80-inch TV I had, dude.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're like, anything you can remember, write it down and put a price on it, and we'll send you a check for it. So I'm like, okay. I had all these pirated programs, and I'm like, I'd look it up, like, oh, it's worth $5,000. Write that down. So I was able to buy a new iMac, able to get real monitors, a really nice interface, a nice microphone. It was a whole 9, man. So when I came back to it, it was like incredible. That's when we made I think Resurrected, our last album. Yep. But yeah, and you can just tell the progression from Codependence Day to that. It's like just way more cohesive, and like I produced everything, and I was way more on my game at that point. But then after that, that's when, everything, so we started to split, because I was living out there, boys were living in here. I think Justin had moved home by then. And so we kind of, and I think I was having a kid and already had a kid, so we just kind of stopped getting together, and we trying, but it just never worked out, didn't have the time. So kind of just after that, it was like a time of just like reflecting, working on my own stuff. That's when I developed Foreshadow. Was at that time, probably like 2015, somewhere in there, 2014. Yeah, 2014, 2015. Just kind of grew as a human, as a artist. Went through some things, relationship. Kind of vetted me a little bit, and came out like even better.
Did you think that you would ever lose it, or did you always know? Like,
nah, man. Nah, it's always there, because that's what I'd always go back to when I was, going through some stuff. always come back to the music and
your escape, your ventilation, everything.
Just come back and ground myself and be like, I still got this, you know, no matter what, I still got this. So, and then like I think 2016, 2017, I played a show. Me and Keenan were playing shows together for a while. We would just do random, like we had a couple random songs we did together, and we would just play shows together just for the fun of it. And that's when I met Alaire at I can't remember who we played with, someone at Monk's, and then we you know, basically had a bar stool conversation like, yo dude, you're dope. And he's like, yeah dude, I think you're great, blah blah blah. And I was like, you know, everybody is always like, yeah dude, let's collab, but no, I was like, nobody ever comes through. No one ever like actually acts on it. So I was like, if you want to come dude, we can start working on some stuff. And he's like, cool. He's like, I'll be there. And that's when it started, man.
Was he doing producing and all that?
No, man, he just wrote at the time, like kind of like some R&B type stuff, and he just wrote and rapped. Crazy good rapper. But yeah, I just dug what he sounded like and what he did, and so like we, you know, did 48 minutes. That was our first project, and
what year was that?
Oh, like 2016 or 17.
It's been that long, wow.
Yeah, it's been.
Well, I guess
COVID,
I
think
it's
that
already
too.
been fucking 3 years of this show. It's like I don't even know what year.
I don't even know where I'm at.
Still
anymore.
March 2020.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's 2017 or 2018. Anyways, it's been some years, you know, since we did Summer Trees and stuff. But you know, once that stuff started coming out, the support just started to like escalate. You know, views, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. That's when I started to put together this idea. Like, well, I already had an awesome studio at my grandma's, but you know, she passed away, and then that was like, well, you can't live here no more because I'm not a tribal member. So like I had to leave that spot, sell the house, lose the studio, bring it to my like little rundown dump of a house that wasn't what I was used to for environment, and that's when this idea like really started to fester. But we still stayed and recorded there for like 2 years. So
where's he from right now?
He's from Missoula.
Okay. It's a cool balance you guys have. I always like when there's like a rapper with a nice baritone and the other, it's like hot chick voice.
Yeah.
He's not a hot chick, but he's got that soft voice,
Right.
So
Yeah.
you guys have that fun
R&B,
balance, which is really cool that you can
very
flow those together.
Diverse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you think that when you saw him, it was like, hey, we could do well together, or did you just like him? Like,
I just
see?
like dug him as a rapper, as an artist. It's like, dude, because you know, you see people, you're like, that's whatever, you know. But then you see people, you're like, oh, okay, I'm impressed. So yeah, that's what it was like.
Have you always thought of, after all those events, that you were going to be with another rapper or somebody, or was it just right place, right time? Right place, right time, man. Yeah. And I just need, you know, I like to have creative minds around me that's just how... Feed off. Yeah, that's just how things work, man. So, definitely. Now, you guys have been together for a while. You have one album or 2 albums together, right? 2, yeah. 2 albums. Is the idea just to keep cranking it out and see what's happening? Yeah, we got another one on ice right now that's, you know, best we've ever done. So, super excited about that. Now that we got this up and running, we can kind of get that done. So you talked about the tours pre-COVID. Have you guys ever toured together? No. Nope. But just done some shows? Yeah, we've done tons of shows, man. All the Me local? And Alaire. Yeah, all in Montana. No, we've been to like Spokane a couple times. Done a couple shows out there with Superman and Mike Bogan. It's like before COVID hit, like we were on just like this huge escalation of like, dang, we were getting so much, like we were playing all the Wilma rap shows, or any rap show that came to town, we were probably on it, you know. And so that was a really good feeling. We were just getting all this love, all these fans, like that was awesome. And then COVID hit, and it's like, damn, we lost all that momentum, you know. And so, and then I know that's how it is for everybody, but it's like, that's the opportunity, man, you know. But now you get to focus on your craft more. Right, yeah, and we did, man, you know, we did. We really, that's all we did. We made music this whole time, so. Adversity can create opportunity, right? Right, man, yeah. And, you know, we worked on the business side of things, too. That was huge. Like, all the business mind of the music.
like, you know, getting into the marketing and figuring that out, and getting into this studio and figuring all that out, you know. It's been cool.
I remember your first Wilma show was Codependence. Have majority of your Wilma shows been Codependence, or you and Alaire?
So I played 2 solo. I played, I think, 3 or 4 with Codependence, and like 4 or 5 with Eric.
Who was the biggest artist that you opened up for there? Because I know you've done Machine Gun Kelly, you've done Tech Nine.
Yeah.
Who else?
As far as like as many people in the crowd, probably like MGK. That was a really big show. Like I said, there was like
he kills it live.
Yeah,
I saw him open for Young Thug.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't really too enthralled, and then during the fucking show, I was like, because he'll play the drums, he'll play the guitar,
yeah, no, he's
great,
everything. Man. Yeah, he's a good performer. I respect him as an artist a lot. But yeah, that's probably like the biggest show. We did 2 with Bone Thugs. That was super cool.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, one in Bozeman at the what was it called? I can't remember what it's called now. Anyways, super cool venue, and then we came to Missoula and played with them the next day. That was really dope.
When you do open for them, do you ever get to kick it with them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bone Thugs were just kind of weird. Like,
they're old, right?
Yeah, and like very.
Not ready for sleep.
yeah. So, but all the other artists that I play with, I've seen them like in the green room. Like Tech Nine and Chris Calico. Well, that's super cool. Turn around and Tech Nine standing behind me. I'm like, holy cow, this is insane, man. The bucket list,
Yeah.
Like those are those dreams I talk about. Like, it's crazy. I used to watch Tech Nine all the time. Now I'm playing a show with him.
Still like Tech Nine. He's still putting out music.
I know, man.
He still does a show here in Seattle every year. I usually see him.
Yep, he kills it, man.
Who is your favorite person to vibe with or like connect with that you open up for?
Probably one of my favorite people is Mike Bogan, and we play like me and him are friends now. Like he's killing it, but he's a very humble person, and he's given us a lot of insight into like the artist, to the craft, and to value yourself. Lots of good talks with him, man. One of my favorites.
You talked about landscaping. Obviously, you're working another job. When did that start? And do you feel like that's something that you want to continue? Was it a COVID thing that you?
No, it was before COVID. It was like right when we had to move out of my grandma's house. I had to pay rent now. So, I just got a job. I only worked there for 1 summer, and then I started working with Sean doing tile. So that's what I do now. I have my own tile business. So.
Do you feel like we're going to keep that going as well?
I'm going to keep it going until like this is working out even more.
No stress.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting there, man. Like just all the events I do with the community and the tribe, that's starting to pay pretty good. And I just want to keep that rolling. And once I know I got some sort of contract or some sort of salary type, I'm done doing tile, man.
Yeah.
I love the money, man, but it's, it's hard on the body.
Tile is what it is. Do you ever see yourself in the job just thinking about music?
Always, man. Yeah, always. Yep, 24/7. Sean, my boss, he's a musician too, so It's really cool. We talk to each other about music all the time, and we're working together, so it makes it easier to do it.
So you talk about being a dreamer, and obviously you have to have an action plan or it's just a dream. So now that you've had this big wave, you've had a little pump on the brakes, you probably had a lot of time to think and just reflect. What do you see the next 5 years like? What is really the next thing? So, we haven't really talked about the studio, but is this just because you didn't have a place for the studio? You're turning this into a business. Like, do you want to be, on the entrepreneurship side for a long time, have that as another source of income? Like, what's the idea, the future state?
So really, I wanted to get in here to, first of all, have a professional environment for myself to make music. That's number one. I just want to make my own music, and I don't care if I got to pay monthly. I want a nice spot to do it. And so that was number one idea. Number two, I want to help other people. I want to get youth in here that don't have the resources. Let's work. Let's make your dreams come true, man. If you want to do this, let's make it to where you can see yourself doing it. And then, you know, if that, the way I explain it, I got all these lanes, you know, always in my own lane doing music, doing my own music, doing my, you know, my community events. I'm just trying to go down every lane that I can go down. Whatever one works out, cool. But I got all these things going on, and I just want, you know, I want to be that busy. Because everything brings money in, and everything is helping out me mentally, helping others out. So,
do you feel like you ever get burnt out?
Not with music, man. No, I get burnt out with just working. Yeah, so burnt out that it's hard to, like, you know, like you said, work 2 jobs, man. Like your podcast, you know how it is. Clock out, clock in, dude. Like it's overtime, man. And it's all for something that, like, you don't know how it's gonna turn out. So it's just you're just applying action to that dream, man.
That's awesome. Now, Eric is his real name, right?
Yeah.
Eric. So does he work as well?
Yeah, he does tile or glass installation. So for like windshields.
Is that full time?
Yeah, full time too, man. We all have full time jobs. All of us who work here all have full time jobs. So me, Eric, Coulter, and Rude. Coulter, full time job, but he's he does his videography. So it's his own business and his passion at the same time. But.
So was this your idea to round up the squad, or?
I mean, it's like all collectively been all of our ideas for a long time. Me and Rude, going back to when we first started working together 10 years ago, we were always looking at the next studio spot, you know, to record and do whatever. Coulter obviously has all of his equipment and stuff, and he already had that out at his place, but he, same way, he wanted a professional, like an office setting so you can go in and get your shit done. And so, yeah, we've all had a collective idea, and once Coulter moved to Missoula, you know, COVID was happening, and we're like, hey, look at these commercial spots. They're like cheap, man. Let's jump on that
opportunity.
Yeah.
When we look at some of the music that you put out, maybe Hurt is, but what's their most streamed or most successful piece?
Protect Your People, by far.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. That's pretty new.
Yeah, last year. Went viral. So first song that I had went actually viral.
Was that on YouTube, or did you put it on all, like,
it
Apple?
went viral on Facebook, actually. It has like 7,000 shares and like over 250,000 views.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was that big.
Yeah, it was nuts, man. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't keep up with
someone
all
listen
the stats.
to it on...
Anywhere, man.
Anywhere.
Yeah, Protect Your People. Anywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you can think of. YouTube has the video.
That was just you, right? There was no one else in that?
Yeah, it was just me.
Was that like a project idea? Did someone spur the idea of that?
So the tribe actually reached out, and they just wanted to do a COVID awareness campaign, and they just were like, they didn't really know where they were taking it, but you know, Michelle Mitchell, she reached out to me. She's like works in department ed, and she reached out. Was like, hey, do you want to do the song? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, well, we'll pay you. And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, what do you charge, or what do you want? She's like, we could pay you $2,000. I'm like, I was like, yeah, bring me the contract. Yeah. I'll do that right now. And so, yeah, it was like, I signed the contract, sat down to make this song, and it happened like in an hour. And it was like the most flowing, like, pure piece of work I think I've ever done. I was super proud of it.
Well, obviously you got paid, and the money probably was nice, but it's got to be something that was close to home that you were passionate about, right?
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, just bringing the culture and like the elders and the awareness of like the virus into my music. And you know, at first I was like, this isn't gonna be like, it's just whatever, I'm getting paid, I'm just gonna do it. But then once I got into writing it, I was like, oh, this is actually good, it's cool. So
it's funny how sometimes, you know, even today, I'm leaving tomorrow. I've been here for 2 weeks. I had a busy day at work, and we're here and I'm having a blast, right? And it's just like you get in that motion, and that's what pursuing your passion, I think, is so important, because then it's not work.
Right.
You know, when you think about it, when you have to prepare for it, you have to block the time away. It's like, oh, I could just be chilling right now.
Right.
But then once you're in the minute and then you're done, you feel refreshed.
Right,
it's like
man.
really hits home, and I think that's super cool. When you look back at it, do you have a favorite project or album or song that maybe that's it, that really just, you're like, hell yeah?
Yeah, all of our unreleased stuff is probably my favorite.
Is that just the new shiny baby though?
Yeah, it is, man. It's I can't wait to release it. And it's we got like 10 songs, but we just we gotta prepare, we gotta do it right, and get videos done, and get a release show planned and all that stuff.
Do you have a past project that really sticks out?
Well, I really like Protect Your People. Also Summer Chill. That was huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's a vibe, man. That's
right,
a real song. Like,
that song went crazy too.
I always I went to your guys' shows. I was all about it. Bryce and Thomas and all of us would go out there. Like, we're fucking in college. Like, yeah, let's go. Our friends are fucking rapping. Like, yeah, it's our friends, bro.
Right.
Like, what's up?
Yeah.
But even in Seattle, I'll always like, yo, dude, check this out. The last album, hitting home with like the reservation, the suicide rates. Like, I thought that was so cool how you guys got to mold a story. And I'm always plugging in. I still listen to it. It's in my shuffle. But that song, especially, I don't think anyone could like not like that song.
Right.
It's like a Mac Miller-ish, just fucking.
Oh
chilling,
yeah, that's exactly what I thought when we were making it. When I wrote that, I was like, this is an ode to the GOAT, man.
No, it's cool. I'm actually editing footage from since COVID. I've done a lot of hikes, skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking with those guys in Whitefish, and I'm just putting like this is what I've done through COVID. Being outdoors, I think, is important.
Right.
Like going and just being one with nature can keep your mind clear. And I have a bunch of Mac Miller songs on it. It's just
awesome,
like
man.
R.I.P. Mac Miller, but
yeah,
that's really cool. I figured you'd say that song because it's a banger for sure.
Yeah.
But when we look at the specifics with your music, now that you got this new shiny project, how do you continually push the pace? So obviously you have Eric, who you've been working with for quite a while now, but do you seek advice from people? Do you try to go and find new circles of artists to like try to keep your, music's changing. I mean, since we've been in school, any kind of genre that I was into is quite a bit different than when we were in school.
Right. Yeah,
so, like, are you literally, really trying to keep that fresh? Can you just with the internet do that and just like hear people's projects and see what's going out there? What's that like?
So, basically, I like to keep it local, man. I really put on for Montana. And so, like, I like to find other artists in Montana that I like and link with them, because I know, huge shout out to Edwards, man. He's one of my favorite artists in Montana, but he's a businessman, and he works super hard, to push his music, to help others, just like, with his studio, with Treehouse and all his crew. It's like, it's awesome, man. So I like to source my music and keep everything basically local. I mean, I pay attention to everything going on in the mainstream and stuff, but I get inspired, and so sometimes that has influence on my music. But keeping the pace, it's hard because like we all work full time. So how do we all manage our time so that we can be in here working on our stuff and make it like a very productive session to where we're like, oh, let's get this done. That's how it's got to be. And so we're just now, like I said, we just opened, right, in June. We just got, like, we're just now getting clients in here. And finally, like, being able to, like, okay, hey, next week, let's book a session and we'll get some stuff done, man. And so it's finally starting to come back around. It's been a long time, like 2 months since we've even, like, got to look at one of our songs. So it's been a long time, man, but it's coming around now.
What's your favorite mainstream album that most people would know?
That's tough, man.
Yeah, I know.
Have to go with probably like watching movies with the sound off. I love that. I love Good AM too. A huge Mac Miller fan. I love J. Cole, Forest Hills Drive.
I went and saw that live, and he does the whole album live,
yeah,
which is crazy because
he's
always like, like everyone's got the features. They're doing this. I'm gonna do this whole album that was
front to
platinum,
back.
front to back, no fucking features. It was like I got put in a different state there. It was insane.
Yeah, we watched him in Vegas. It was absolutely insane. Yeah, one of my favorite concerts, man. But yeah, anything J. Cole, anything Mac Miller. I love Jack Harlow. Oh, that's another one. That's a crazy one.
I saw him at Nemo's in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
Before he blew up.
Yeah,
and
we
my
played with him.
coworker was putting me on him. I saw that. I was like, no way. And I started listening to him. I was like, damn, this kid's really good. And then he put out his newer album. I can't remember what it was. Started getting big.
Yeah.
And then he put out What's Poppin'. And then now he's fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's just cool that.
Yeah, his tour is completely sold out. Yeah, every single show.
It's insane.
So we played with him in Missoula at the fairgrounds too. There might have been 150 people there.
And he kind of come, not the res necessarily, but Louisville, Kentucky, like
out
there
in the sticks
a little bit.
For sure, man. Yeah. No, he was cool, man. He's humble. We met him, talked to him. We got a picture with him. Yeah. He was a cool dude, man. It's a great experience, man. One of the best.
All right, so when we talk about you just managing multiple things, multiple jobs, you have multiple lanes that you're following. Obviously, you're a father as well, so talk to me a little bit of what it's like managing also your personal life with all these lanes while trying to do things. And obviously you have a girl, so obviously there's discussions, and she's got to be a great support to be able to allow you to do those things. So just talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's tough, man, to say the least. Having kids, just the main thing that I'm always like, man, I wish I didn't have to work a day job. I always go back to that because I'm like, I could be at home right now chilling with my boys, but I gotta be here working. So, but also at the same time, I gotta provide for them as well. So, hopefully one day they understand that. But just trying to juggle all that, man. It's there's a way to do it, but it's tough, and it takes communication with your significant other, obviously. Because that most women want attention as well, but it's like, look at all this stuff I got going on. There's lots of support, from her side, because obviously she knows this is my passion. She wants to be number one, but I got a couple number ones, so. But it's good, man. Like it's something that you have to master, and you have to be, you have to schedule things and really make things on time. Everything has to be firm as far as like how I'm gonna be done with this session, then I'll be home. Like that stuff has to be firm, especially when it comes to kids.
Under promise, over deliver.
That's right. So yeah, pretty. I mean, there's been hiccups because of all this, but in the end, you can't argue with the constant progression and success that I've been getting. It's like, why would you want someone to stop doing that? They're literally living their dream. You don't want to stop that.
Yeah. And do you feel like it's just you and her supporting each other? Do you have other outside influences that help? Her parents, your parents, other family members that, the saying it takes a, village to raise a child? Or
right.
Do you feel like it's just you two are
yeah, I mean, we're definitely, we're independent, but obviously, just like you said, it takes a village, man. My mom helps out, her mom helps out. My sister's a huge support for us. It's definitely tough with kids, man. You've always got to have somebody on deck to babysit, especially when things are like with me, I'm like, oh, someone just booked a session, I got to go do that tomorrow, whatever. Need someone to watch the kids. So, yeah, man, there's lots of support there, so that's good.
Cool. So I got some quick hitters that I like to ask everybody to wrap us up.
Cool.
First question, I guess getting right into it. Tell us about one of your darkest and hardest times that you had to push through.
I fought addiction for quite a while, man. Wasn't necessarily dark times, but I look back on it, it kind of was. You don't see it when you're in that. So, I'm out of that. I'm over it, and once an addict, always an addict. So, can never try to go back to that. But that was definitely a very, very hard time. So I'm glad that it's I put that on the back burner.
Was this through the start of the rap career?
Yeah, kind of, man. Just living the party life, dude. Just getting into drugs and whatever else, and it being accessible. So, yeah, man. But yeah, all good.
How were you able to get out of that?
Willpower and my significant other pushing me to be a better person.
That's huge.
Yeah, huge, man.
If you could give a shout out to someone for being your biggest inspiration or motivator, who would it be?
Oh. Probably my sister, man. Yeah. Shout out my sister, Turquoise. Yeah. She's killing it, man. And she inspires me day in and day out, and she's a very independent person, and whatever she puts her mind to, she does it. So I do the same.
Shout out.
Shout out.
If you could simply give a life tip or hack to the audience, what would it be?
Work hard. Stay motivated. Stay disciplined. Stay dedicated. Yeah.
Do you credit your success to luck, hard work, or being in the right place at the right time?
They always say luck is when preparation meets opportunity, so I don't ever really believe in luck. I believe in if you work hard and you put yourself in those places, then opportunity usually presents itself. So, yeah.
As a rapper, what was your most humbling moment?
Probably playing shows to no people or 5 people. No one has ever told me that I sucked at rapping. There's lots of hate that come from people, but that comes with everything. There's going to be people who don't like you. That's just how art goes, So yeah, probably just playing bunk shows or, forgetting lyrics on stage. No one ever really knows except you or some people who are hardcore fans that like, bro, you messed up. I'm like, shh.
What's your highest of highs?
That's tough, man. Probably having, one of my songs go viral or putting my kids in my music videos, getting super involved with my community has been like all highs, man. Opening the studio.
How are you able to keep going and grinding through all those?
Oh, man. It's willpower, man. And just the thought of never wanting to fail. Yeah.
Failure just keeps motivating you.
Yep.
Last question for you. Do you have an end goal?
Yeah, man. Basically my end goal is to, number one, help other people out and help other people accomplish what they want to do within this area of expertise, obviously. Other things too. I can mentor people too, whatever. Number two is just to be able to do this full time and like make this a feasible thing, man, and really take my music to where I want it to go. And it's getting there. Everything's on the up and up. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You hosting me in the studio
of course,
and
man.
Having you on the podcast. Once I post it, I'll let you know. And anything else that you'd like to shout out? You have the studio. Do you have any plugs, like a website? Like how are you marketing yourself?
So you can find my music pretty much on any outlet. Foreshadow. My Instagram is Foreshadow406. Facebook is facebook.com/Foreshadow406. YouTube, Foreshadow. Excuse me. And, if you want to check out the studio, it's www.newwavestudio.com, and that's NUWAVstudio.com. Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Check it out. If you guys are in the area, you got Mr. Local right here.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks again, my man.
Yeah, of course.